Imagine waking up in a world where the temperature is so low that even breathing hurts. The wind cuts through your clothing like a knife. Snow stretches to the horizon. There are no houses, no supermarkets, no electricity, no blankets waiting beside a warm fireplace. If you fail to find food today, your family may not survive the week. And if the freezing cold doesn't kill you first, something else probably will. Hungry wolves, massive cave lions, or even a hungry bear searching for its next meal. This wasn't a nightmare. It was everyday life for our ancient ancestors during the Ice Age. Yet somehow, against impossible odds, humans survived. Not just for one winter, not just for one generation, but for thousands of years in some of the harshest environments our species has ever faced. How did they do it? The answer isn't brute strength. It isn't luck. In fact, the secret to surviving Earth's deadliest winters completely changed the future of humanity. Around 20,000 years ago, our planet looked very different from the one we know today. Gigantic ice sheets covered huge parts of North America and Northern Europe. Sea levels were much lower, exposing land that now lies beneath the ocean. Vast grasslands stretched across cold, windswept landscapes where mammoths, woolly rhinoceroses, giant deer, and herds of reindeer roamed in search of food. For humans, every winter was a fight against nature itself. Temperatures could remain below freezing for weeks. Snow buried edible plants. Rivers froze solid. Daylight became painfully short in many northern regions, leaving only a few precious hours to hunt before darkness returned. Unlike today, there were no emergency shelters, no stored fuel, and no weather forecasts. Every decision mattered. Choosing the wrong campsite could expose a family to freezing winds. A failed hunt could mean starvation. A dying fire could turn a cold night into a deadly one. And despite all of these dangers, humans didn't disappear. Instead, they spread across continents, adapting to environments that would seem almost impossible to survive. So what made them different? They weren't the fastest animals, they weren't the strongest, and they certainly weren't the biggest. The answer lies in a series of remarkable innovations that transformed one of nature's weakest primates into one of its most successful survivors. But before we uncover those secrets, we need to understand exactly what they were up against. Just picture standing in the middle of an endless frozen plain. The air is silent except for the howl of the wind. Snow swirls across the ground, hiding rocks, frozen streams, and deep patches of ice beneath a blanket of white. In the distance, dark shapes move through the blowing snow. They aren't people. They're a herd of reindeer, constantly searching for food buried beneath the ice. Not far behind them, another group follows. Wolves. Both predator and prey are fighting the same battle. Survive the winter. Now imagine you're a human standing in that same landscape. Unlike the wolves, you don't have thick fur. Unlike mammoths, you don't have layers of insulating fat. Your body loses heat quickly. Without protection, hypothermia can set in long before sunrise. Winter wasn't just cold, it attacked humans from every direction. Food became scarce as edible plants disappeared beneath snow and ice. Hunting grew more difficult because animals migrated over enormous distances, forcing people to follow them across unfamiliar terrain. Even finding clean drinking water wasn't always simple. Although snow covered the ground, eating snow directly could lower body temperature even further. Instead, people often had to melt ice or snow using precious firewood, making fire more valuable than ever. Then there were the predators. Ice Age Europe and Asia were home to cave lions, cave hyenas, wolves, and massive brown bears. These animals weren't mythical monsters, but they were powerful hunters, competing for the very same food sources as humans. Every successful hunt carried enormous risk. A wounded animal could fight back. A hunting party could become trapped in deep snow. Or worse, another predator might arrive before the hunters had a chance to claim their prize. Life during winter was a constant calculation of risk versus survival. And yet archaeologists have discovered evidence that humans didn't simply endure these frozen landscapes. In many places, they thrived. They built camps, raised children, created art, crafted tools with astonishing precision. Some communities even returned to the same seasonal locations year after year, suggesting they understood the rhythms of the landscape far better than we once believed. So what gave them this extraordinary advantage? It all began with something so ordinary that most of us barely think about it today: fire. And that simple discovery would become humanity's greatest ally against the cold. Imagine the sun disappearing behind the horizon. The temperature drops almost instantly. A freezing wind begins sweeping across the open plain. Darkness spreads in every direction. Without fire, this isn't just uncomfortable, it's deadly. For ancient humans, fire was never a luxury. It was the difference between life and death. Long before the last ice age reached its coldest point, humans had learned to control fire. But during the harshest winters on Earth, that knowledge became one of the greatest survival tools our species had ever developed. A single campfire could create a small island of safety in an otherwise hostile world. It warmed frozen hands, dried soaked clothing, melted snow into drinking water, cooked meat, making it safer to eat and easier to digest. And perhaps most importantly, it extended the day. When darkness covered the landscape, life didn't have to stop. Families could repair tools, prepare weapons, sew clothing, and share knowledge around the fire. In many ways, the campfire became humanity's very first classroom. Children learned hunting skills by listening to older members of the group. Stories passed on valuable lessons about dangerous animals, changing seasons, and distant landscapes. Generation after generation, knowledge survived because people gathered around the same flames that kept them warm. Fire also changed the balance between humans and predators. A hungry wolf might circle the edge of a campsite. A cave hyena could lurk in the darkness. But the bright glow of flames, combined with human voices and smoke, often discouraged curious predators from getting too close. For the first time, humans weren't simply hiding from nature. They were shaping it. Archaeologists have uncovered ancient hearths containing layers of ash, charcoal, burned bones, and stone tools. Some sites show repeated use over many years, suggesting that people deliberately returned to places where fire had helped them survive before. Keeping a fire alive became a daily responsibility. There were no matches, no lighters. If a flame went out during a snowstorm, starting another one could be incredibly difficult. That meant someone always had to gather fuel, protect burning embers, and ensure the fire never died. It was a job that demanded planning and teamwork. But fire did something even more remarkable than keeping people warm. It gave humans confidence. Beyond the circle of light lay freezing darkness. Inside it was warmth, safety, and hope. For thousands of years, every winter night ended the same way. Families gathered around dancing flames while snow fell silently beyond the edge of the firelight. But surviving winter required more than warmth. Soon, humans solved another problem that nature never intended them to overcome. They learned how to wear winter itself. When most people imagine Ice Age clothing, they picture someone carelessly throwing a rough animal skin over their shoulders. It's a familiar image, but it's also misleading. The reality was far more impressive. Archaeological discoveries suggest that many ancient humans created clothing with remarkable skill. They didn't simply wear hides. They transformed them into carefully designed protection against one of the coldest climates in history. The process began after a successful hunt. Every part of the animal mattered. Meat provided food, bones became tools, sinew, the strong fibers that connect muscle to bone, could be twisted into durable thread. And the hide became something even more valuable than food. It became survival. Fresh animal skins couldn't simply be worn immediately. Without preparation, they would stiffen, rot, or fall apart. Instead, people scraped away fat and tissue using sharp stone tools. They softened the hides through repeated working and drying, turning stiff skin into flexible leather that could last much longer. Then came one of humanity's most overlooked inventions, the sewing needle. Archaeologists have discovered finely crafted bone needles dating back tens of thousands of years. Many even contain tiny eyes, almost identical in purpose to the needles we still use today. This small invention changed everything. Instead of loosely wrapping themselves in fur, people could stitch fitted garments that trapped warm air close to the body. Sleeves kept cold wind away from the arms. Leg coverings protected against deep snow. Footwear insulated frozen feet from icy ground. Some garments likely combined the thick fur of different animals, choosing each material for its specific advantage. A dense winter hide might provide insulation. A softer hide could allow greater movement. Together, they formed clothing systems that were surprisingly sophisticated. Staying dry became just as important as staying warm. Wet clothing steals body heat rapidly, especially in freezing temperatures. By creating garments that reduced exposure to snow and wind, ancient humans dramatically improved their chances of surviving long winter journeys. This wasn't fashion, it was engineering. Every stitch represented experience gained through countless winters. Every improvement meant a better chance that children would survive until spring. These weren't primitive people making crude clothing. They were skilled craftspeople solving complex survival problems with the materials nature provided. And even the finest clothing had its limits. Eventually, every traveler needed a place to escape the relentless cold. A place where the wind couldn't reach them. A place they could truly call home. But that home wasn't always a cave. When you picture ancient humans, what do you see? For many people, the answer is simple. A small group huddled deep inside a dark cave, waiting for winter to pass. It's an image we've seen in books, movies, and cartoons for decades. But archaeology tells a far more interesting story. While caves certainly provided shelter in some regions, they were only one option among many. In fact, countless Ice Age communities spent much of their lives in the open, building shelters designed specifically for the landscape around them. Think about it. Animals migrated with the seasons. Fresh water wasn't always near a cave. Good hunting grounds could be many miles away. If people stayed in one place all winter, they risked exhausting nearby food supplies. Instead, many groups remained mobile, carrying knowledge rather than permanent homes. Wherever they stopped, they built. In the forests, sturdy wooden poles formed the skeleton of simple huts. Animal hides were stretched tightly across the frames, creating walls that blocked the wind and trapped precious warmth inside. On the vast treeless plains of Eastern Europe, people faced a different challenge. There weren't enough large trees to build traditional shelters, so they turned to the biggest animals in their world, mammoths. Archaeologists have uncovered remarkable circular structures built from mammoth bones, some dating back more than 20,000 years. Huge skulls formed sturdy foundations. Massive tusks created curved supports. Large shoulder bones reinforced the walls. Animal hides were likely draped over the framework, while the entire structure may have been insulated with snow, earth, or grass to reduce heat loss. Inside these shelters, researchers have found hearths, stone tools, food remains, and signs of repeated occupation. These weren't temporary hiding places. They were carefully planned homes. The design itself reveals something extraordinary. Building one of these shelters wasn't a task for a single person. Transporting mammoth bones, arranging heavy materials, preparing hides, and maintaining the structure required cooperation and planning. Long before cities existed, humans were already solving architectural problems together. Even caves, when available, were used strategically. People often chose cave entrances rather than the deepest chambers. This allowed smoke from their fires to escape while still providing protection from wind, snow, and predators. Some caves even contain layers of occupation stretching across thousands of years, suggesting that generations returned to the same safe locations again and again. Home for ancient humans wasn't defined by walls made of stone. It was any place that offered warmth, safety, and a chance to survive another night. But even the strongest shelter couldn't solve one critical problem. Sooner or later, everyone had to eat. And during the Ice Age, finding food demanded one of the greatest displays of teamwork in human history. Imagine standing on a frozen plain at dawn. The air is bitterly cold. Your stomach has been empty for 2 days. Somewhere beyond the snow, a herd of reindeer is moving south. Finding them isn't enough. You have to catch them. Without modern weapons, vehicles, or traps, hunting was one of the most dangerous jobs an ancient human could face. One mistake could mean injury. And in the Ice Age, a serious injury often became a death sentence. So humans developed something far more powerful than physical strength. They learned to work as one. Before a hunt even began, careful planning was essential. Experienced hunters studied animal tracks pressed into fresh snow, broken branches, droppings, wind direction, migration routes remembered from previous seasons. Nothing was left to chance. When the moment came, every member of the group had a role. Some quietly guided animals toward a narrow valley. Others waited in hidden positions with sharpened wooden spears tipped with carefully crafted stone points. The goal wasn't to overpower massive animals through force, it was to outthink them. Reindeer were among the most dependable food sources because their seasonal migrations could often be anticipated. Wild horses and bison also provided valuable meat. In certain regions, mammoths became an extraordinary opportunity. A single mammoth could provide an enormous quantity of meat, fat, hides, and bones. But hunting one was incredibly risky. Scientists still debate exactly how often humans actively hunted healthy adult mammoths. Many archaeological sites suggest people also took advantage of young, injured, trapped, or naturally weakened animals whenever possible. Whatever the situation, approaching an animal that stood several times taller than a human demanded courage, patience, and coordination. After a successful hunt, the work had only begun. Nothing went to waste. Meat fed the group, fat provided a vital source of energy during freezing winters. Bones became needles, tools, spear points, and building materials. Sinew became thread. Hides became warm clothing and shelter coverings. Every successful hunt supplied resources that could support an entire community. But winter wasn't always generous. Some hunts failed. Animals changed their migration routes. Storms could bury tracks overnight. Days without food tested both body and mind. That's why ancient humans rarely depended on hunting alone. Where conditions allowed, they gathered edible roots before the ground froze, collected nuts and seeds during warmer months, caught fish beneath the ice, and preserved meat by freezing or drying it in the cold air. Survival wasn't built on a single skill. It depended on flexibility, knowing when to hunt, when to move, when to conserve energy, and when to share. Because in the frozen world of the Ice Age, the strongest individual wasn't always the one who survived. The groups that endured were the ones that trusted each other, and that trust became humanity's greatest advantage of all. By now, you might think the secret to surviving the Ice Age was fire, or warm clothing, or better shelters. Those inventions were certainly essential. But none of them explains why humans succeeded while many powerful Ice Age animals eventually disappeared. The real answer was something far less obvious: each other. Unlike most predators, humans didn't survive alone. They survived as communities. Picture an elderly hunter whose knees are no longer strong enough to chase reindeer across the frozen plains. For many animals, that would mark the end. But in a human group, that person still had tremendous value. Years of experience, knowledge of migration routes, an understanding of changing weather, stories of dangerous valleys, safe campsites, and successful hunting grounds. That wisdom could save lives. Children also represented more than the future of the group. They carried its knowledge forward. Adults taught them how to shape stone into razor-sharp tools, how to recognize fresh tracks in the snow, how to judge whether ice was safe to cross, how to keep a fire alive through a freezing night. Every lesson learned from one generation became a gift to the next. Knowledge accumulated instead of disappearing. This was one of humanity's greatest advantages. When someone discovered a better way to sew clothing, others copied it. When a new hunting strategy worked, the entire group benefited. When a family found a safer route through the mountains, that information spread. Ideas became as valuable as food. This ability to share knowledge allowed humans to improve far more quickly than evolution alone ever could. Archaeological evidence even suggests that some ancient humans cared for injured or disabled members of their communities. Researchers have discovered skeletons showing severe injuries that had healed long before death. Some individuals survived for years, despite conditions that would have made hunting nearly impossible. They could not have survived without help. Someone gathered food for them. Someone protected them. Someone chose compassion over convenience. In one of the harshest environments on Earth, kindness became a survival strategy. That may be one of the most remarkable discoveries archaeology has ever made. The Ice Age wasn't only shaping stronger humans, it was shaping more connected ones. And together, they achieved something extraordinary. They spread across continents, crossed frozen landscapes, adapted to environments that seemed impossible to conquer. Not because they were fearless, but because they faced fear together. Today, winter rarely feels like a battle for survival. A thermostat warms our homes. Heavy coats protect us from the cold. Food waits on supermarket shelves no matter the season. It's easy to forget how extraordinary these comforts really are. But every winter carries a hidden connection to our distant ancestors. Every warm shelter echoes the first homes built from wood, hides, and mammoth bones. Every stitched winter coat reflects innovations that began tens of thousands of years ago with bone needles and animal skins. Every shared meal reminds us of hunting parties that returned home carrying enough food to keep an entire community alive. The Ice Age didn't simply test humanity, it transformed it. It rewarded intelligence over strength, planning over panic, cooperation over isolation. Those frozen landscapes became a proving ground where our ancestors developed the skills that would eventually allow humans to explore every continent on Earth. Perhaps the greatest lesson they left behind isn't about surviving winter. It's about surviving together. Because when the world became colder, humans became closer. And that simple choice changed history forever. The next time you zip up a winter jacket, gather around a fire, or step inside a warm home while snow falls outside, remember this. Those everyday comforts are part of a story that began thousands of years ago, when small groups of determined people refused to let the cold defeat them. If you enjoyed this journey into humanity's distant past, subscribe to Tiny Ancestors for more documentaries uncovering the forgotten stories of the people who shaped our world long before written history. Because the next ancient mystery might completely change the way you see the human story. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next documentary.